The Pontalba apartment buildings flank the green space with the original ironwork of the French Quarter on 2 levels. Ironwork on buildings is not unique to the French Quarter of New Orleans. The history of metallurgy is deep and spans continents. However, the vast amount of ironwork in the small neighborhood of the French Quarter, 12 square blocks in total, is unique. There's no place on earth when ironwork on as many buildings in such a small area, and much of this ironwork appeared during the same period. While it seems to be a forgotten part of our history today, we rediscover that much of the ironwork in the French Quarter was beautifully wrought by enslaved people during the antebellum days. In his book, Negro Ironworkers of Louisiana, 1718 through 1900, Marcus Christian reminds us about this forgotten fact. Christian points to histories written by Lyle Saxon and Grace King before the 1930s, which did not shy away from the reliance on the work of the enslaved. He points to the developed art of metalworking on the continent of Africa prior to colonization as a source of the expertise. After the 1930s, history writers scoff at the notion that enslaved humans were responsible for the graceful artwork of the iron in the French Quarter. Some claim that the ironwork was all imported from Seville during this time. The 1938 New Orleans City Guide specifically claims that the ironwork could not have been done in New Orleans, as there are no deposits of iron ore nearby. But Christian helpfully reminds us that while the iron ore was imported, and the knowledge of the craftsmen who pounded it was likely also imported, the finished product was native-born. Christian also cites the roles of freemen of color, blacksmiths in New Orleans via the directory information, and the federal census showing men in New Orleans whose occupation was blacksmith compared to the slave registers to prove his point that another of the defining aspects of this city was built primarily not by free artisans and laborers, but forced via the hands of enslaved humans. However, Christian does not point out the symbolism embedded in the designs of the wrought iron that reveal this fact as clearly as the smell of fresh coffee and sour liquor permeates the square. The sacred West African Indigra symbols are on display in the graceful curves, allowing our enslaved ancestors to continue to protect the city centuries later. In the ironwork wrapping the Pontalba buildings, you can find the monogram AP for Almonaster and Pontalba. But if you look carefully, you can also find Indigra symbols hidden in the ironwork, particularly the one meaning that which shall not be burned, as these buildings were built after the 2 great fires, but still within the memories of the living, including this symbol seems particularly significant.